Om Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavignopasantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us just think of what is a spiritual quest. We think a spiritual quest is something which is very unusual or unique. But a spiritual quest is really a very basic seeking in a human being, recognized by a human being. It may not be recognized as such, as a spiritual quest, but in all of us, there is this yearning, which is natural, which is to know who I am, what I am, who I am. That's why we go to astrologers. We read books on psychology. We ask questions. We think. We wonder. Because there is a need to know. Why is there even a need to know, really, in animals and recognized in human beings? We want not only want to, the more we know about ourselves, the more we want to know about my mind. And not only that, about where I came from. I want to know about the world also, where others came from, where the world came from, where I came from. So thus, these two things are very, very natural to human beings. Just a second. This is very interesting. It's telling me to tell what language I'm speaking in. The computer. I'm recording it. So I guess it's not realizing it, thinks I might be speaking some language, it wants to know. English means I guess it'll listen properly. It's important. So I'll come to that also. So anyway, so this desire to know myself and desire to know where everything comes from. One is Jiva, one is Ishvara, really speaking. One is Parameshwara. We all want to know this, we want to know this. And the source of knowledge really is for us the Shastra. Scriptures becomes a means to reveal that to me. And then, so this, the source of everything is what Bhagavan is. Is Bhagavan itself knowable? I may be knowable. I know myself to some extent. But is God knowable or is he not knowable? According to some, so God is not knowable. Not even knowable. Forget knowing him. You cannot know him or her, whatever it may be. Our Shastram says Bhagavan is knowable. Not only knowable, also recognizable. And then you say how? And then they don't just say that. Scripture doesn't just say that. It also reveals to me how Ishvara is knowable and how does an individual come to recognize that. Both. The means is given and the reality, the fact is pointed out. Now the scriptures, being the source of revealing that to me, need to communicate that to me and communicate that to me in different ways, in different languages. Like this computer asked me, which language are you speaking? Okay, I guess it couldn't figure out from my accent. So then I have to say, oh, I speak this language. What language does Shastram speak to me? Besides, of course, Sanskritam. That is one, we say. It's a language of gods. But then more than that, there's a language of communication. Language, the whole point of language is communication. Scriptures communicate to us through itihasas, through Puranas, through Vedas. Vedas being the original source. And just imagine if Shastram is Bhagavan, really, comes from the Lord, you know, wants to reveal something, the truth about a person, about the world. Can it afford to be, or will it be selective? It won't be selective. It will address every human being, because this quest is in every human being. So it has to address every human being. How does it address every human being? Every different minds are there. All minds are not the same. Some minds are highly abstract. Some minds are concrete. Some minds have a million questions. Some minds, even though they get an answers, are not satisfied. There are all kinds of minds in all kinds of people. So Shastram also uses a language. It doesn't ask you what is your what is your language that you will understand, but it reveals in many different ways depending on the mind of the person. So thus we have scriptures revealed through Puranas, which are so in the form of narratives of things that have happened, simple way, lives of gods, lives of human beings, of yugas with respect to the world, of right and wrong, dharma, dharma. So it speaks in a certain language of metaphors, of symbolisms, which works for certain minds. Then there are others. Itihasas is another way. Or scriptures like Veda Shastra, Vedanta, for minds that are more abstract. They're more abstract in their thinking, more questioning, etc. So the same truth is revealed in many different ways, in different languages of communication. You know. And in this, through this, Shastram points out the nature of Bhagavan. And as both twofold, in a twofold way, what is the essential nature and the nature of individual also? Okay, both of these. In a twofold way, what is the essential? Essential means what is the basic, the fundamental nature, svarupam. Swasya. So the essential nature is that which doesn't change, okay? Like the nature of gold, the atomic weight. It's constant. Then there is another aspect to that nature, which is that same gold being manifest in different names and forms. And that is the manifest rupam. That's called rupam. Different rupams are there. In a similar manner, there is something about me that is essential, but not recognized. And there is something about me that is manifest. Okay. What happens is when we inquire into our nature, we are at the level of the manifest. Because manifest is obvious, it is recognized how I think, my mind is available, my body is available, my senses are available. So the manifest is forms, different forms are there, nama rupams are there, different expressions are there. But the essential, the one which is the changeless, so these are all the changing, variable, they change. As I grow, as I learn, as I recognize things, as I gain knowledge, different aspects of me change. I was not a doctor before, then I become a doctor. That's another rupam. I get married, it's another rupam. So, but the essential gets unrecognized. and that which is the svarupam. From the standpoint of the individual, one is called the individual with individualities, and the other one is the Atma. So, and then the relationship between this connection between the self and the manifest of myself, and from an individual standpoint, from the total standpoint of the world, which is Bhagavan. So, scriptures reveal both in a twofold way, in terms of Swarupam and in terms of Rupam, of the world, of the source of everything, which is, in other words, Parameshwara, what we call, and of the individual. These different aspects are, so this knowledge is revealed, is shown in this particular prayer, stotram, called as Rudrashtakam. It's interesting observation here. So we recently had Brahmotsavam of Lord Shiva. And now very soon we are going to have Ramanavami, Rudrashtakam is a prayer of 8 verses, Ashtakam, on Sri Rudra, on Lord Shiva, And it is mentioned, interestingly, in, so Tulsi Ramayana, in Sri Ramacharitamanas, there is a section in the Uttarakhand portion, 15th chapter, which is Rudrashtakam. The whole of it, Ramcharitmanas, is in a certain language, Avadi. And then when we look at the book, this particular section, this stotram, Stuti is not in Avadi, it is in Sanskritam, Bhasha. It's interesting. So it's almost like it's been put there. And there's a certain context to it. And it is in the context also said there that, so it is something that was recited or said by sage, a rishi, whose name was Lomasha, who was a great Shiva Bhakta. Anyway, it's a wonderful story. We can't get into that today, but it's something perhaps you can look into, But obviously it shows Tulsidas, his importance and the value he gives to it, that he includes it in the Ramayana, Anyway, so look at this. We'll look at these 8 verses. Let's start with the first one. Om Namami Shamishana Nirvana Rupam Vibhum Vyapakam Brahma Veda Swarupam Nijam Nirgunam Nirvikalpam Niriham Chidakashamakashavasam Bhajeham Namamisham Ishana Nirvana Rupam. Namami. I salute. I offer prostrations unto Parameshwara. And what is this nature? What is the Swarupam? What is the essential Swarupam of Parameshwara? He says he is, to begin with, Ishanam. He is Ishana. Isha. Isha means the one who rules, the one who's the Lord, the one who rules. He rules, he's also called, he's Ishvara, in fact, the one who rules over the entire manifest phenomenal world. Ishvara is also, Isha, the word used for Sri Rudra, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu. And he is the one who, how does he rule? His rule pervades all over. All over. He says, Isha Vasyam, Idam Sarvam. Is not just rule. He is the very soul and essence of everything. Everything exists because of Ishvara, the ultimate cause, the ultimate source of all that is manifest and experienced. Okay. He is infinite because the manifest world is infinite. Ishanam. He is also called as Ishvara, Ishana. Ishana is the another name for Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is called this name in Shiva Purana is mentioned by that name. He is also one of the Ekadasha Rudras. So when we say Rudrashtakam, Ashtakam is a prayer of 8 verses to Sri Rudra. Rudra is, one meaning is Lord Shiva, but the word Rudra also refers to Ekadasha, 11 different expressions or manifestations of Lord Shiva which have 11 different names. So one of the manifestations, the fifth one, his name is called as Rudra. So he is one of the, so Ekadasha Rudras. He's called Ishana. Ishana word also has some other meanings. It refers to the northeast direction. So Dikpalakas, the presiding deity of that northeastern direction, is Sri Rudra. You know, it is said that is northeast is where the puja, your puja room is there in the house. It's the direction in which it is said that the prana enters the house from the northeast direction. You know, so when prana has to come into a home, then be born, and it leaves through the southwest, the opposite. Anyway, they say like that. So Isha, there's one meaning of Ishana, but here Ishana means Lord Shiva. So, Namami Ishanam, Isham Ishana Rupam, Nirvana Rupam is Nirvanam. Nirvana, everybody knows what Nirvana is. Nirvana is free. Freedom from all that is changing. Freedom from all that is limited. So also a certain state they call as Nirvana. It basically means freedom from limitations, freedom from duality. You know, the limitations born of duality that we experience the world as, that creates in us sorrow and other kinds of things. So that which is free, but it's not untouched. Ishvara is untouched by any of this. So he's free from all limitations. He is limitless. Nirvana Rupam. He is Vibhum. Because later on he'll say why, how. Because Ishvara transcends everything. But at the same time, he is manifest too. He is Vibhuhu. Vibhuhu, Vividam Bhati. The one who, how do things manifest? Not just manifest. Manifest can be one thing. You wake up, the world is manifest. What is manifest? The world, whole universe. Or you can see manifest in the varieties of ways. Different forms, different names, different colors, responding to different senses. So, whether it is the world outside, whether it is the world inside, whether it is my mind, whether it is my thinking, my emotions, just look at it. These are all these infinite manifestations, the ultimate source of which is what? Not me, the individual. Individual is part of this, also another manifestation. But then the one that is the source, ultimate source, there has to be a source. It's called Ishvara, Parameshwara. So he is not only the one who transcends, but he is also Vibhuhu. He is the one who manifests in infinite forms. Vyapakam, Vibhur Vyapakam. Vyapakam, who once I manifest, but then I'm there everywhere. Same one. Doesn't disappear into the manifest, It doesn't disappear. He's still present everywhere. Sarva Vyapi. Sarvavyapi also means that there's nothing outside of that. Everything is within the scope of Ishvara. There is nothing outside Ishvara's purview because laws, etc. So there's nothing outside his scope. There's nothing outside his control. There's nothing outside Ishvara's jurisdiction. So there's no separate another God. There is no separate devil. There is no separate anything. There is only one Ishvara under whose purview, control, management, everything exists. He is Sarva Vyapi. He is, he is Vyapakaha. And what else is he? He is Brahma Veda Swarupam. He is Brahma Swarupam. His Swarupam is called Brahma or Brahman. What do you mean by Brahman? It's another word, you know. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Elsewhere it is described very well. What is the meaning of the word Brahma, Brahman? In Taittiriya Upanishad, second section begins like that. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahma means, so it described by these three words. It is Sat, it is Jnana Swarupam, it is Ananta Swarupam. You know. Anyway, each one is well described also by the scriptures. So he is Brahma Swarupam. Not only that, he is Veda Swarupam. Veda is knowledge also. Veda is knowledge, the content of it, you know, and its expression. Veda is means of communicating, means of knowing. Mute, please, Alamelu. Yeah, if you can. Yeah. So he is Brahma Swarupam. His Vedas are his manifestations too. Veda also Dharma. Dharma is not separate from Veda. Veda is the knowing aspect of it and the content, the subject matter. Then Nijam, Nirgunam, Nirvikalpam, Niriham. Nijam, Nirgunam. Nijam is one's own Swarupam. Nijam means Swarupam. His Swarupam, his essential nature, is again Nirgunam, free from all the gunas. Earlier we saw it transcends everything. What does he transcends? Everything means everything is defined by its qualities, you know, called gunas. Every object has certain gunas, you know. So, this is the one who, since he transcends all objects, Bhagavan transcends all the gunas. So, he is nirgunam and he is free from the gunas. Also, transcending means free. Okay. Transcending means free. Transcending means not another something else sitting up on the top. Transcending means you can be something and at the same time transcend it. Okay. So it's not in terms of physicality or in terms of time, because one can, Ishvara transcends time also. So transcending everything essentially means not touched by it, free from it, not bound by it. So Bheda Rahitam. Gunas also create differences, distinctions, Bhidam, Dvaitam. So essentially is free from that in terms of one's essential nature. Whereas in the manifest, you see that is where you recognize and experience the gunas. Nirvikalpam. So the Bheda, the differences are also described in terms of vikalpas, thinking. So the thoughts, the mind also creates differences. These are called vikalpas. You know. So conceptualizations, etc. So he is different, transcends that also, transcends the mind. In other words, we can say, you know. Not only that, another aspect for the individual is when we talk of this individual, the same Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is also connected to the individual, because individual is not just the form manifest, there's also an essential element that is, and that element also is the same. It is Sat, Chit and Ananda Swarupam. The scripture points out. In other words, it points out a certain oneness, a certain non-difference, non-distinction, non-separation from the one and the total, from the individual and the Parameshwara, from the ornament and the gold. Keep in mind that example. So there is a certain oneness there. And then one is constant, one is variable, but essentially there is a connection. Okay. So nirvikalpam. So those differences that are recognized in the mind this is someone who transcends that also. Bhagavan is free from these vikalpas, these differences. Niriham. Niriham is ichha. There is no ichha rahitam. There is no desire for things, desire for objects like this there in the mind. That is also not there connected to. That's why we cannot ascribe motives to Ishvara. Because of these things, the way being transcendent, God doesn't have any desires, not bound by desires like we are. So, what does that imply? It implies that there is no bias, there is no motives. One doesn't do things because Bhagavan wants it this way or that way. So those things are all come from our minds and our desires. That infinite nature of Sarvavyapi nature also, it says Chid Akasha. Where is this thing available? There's a connection. Scripture says, Shruti says there's a connection between that Brahman, the cause, Ishvara, and also the individual, somewhere there inside. Where is it? Where is Bhagavan with respect to me? Where is it? If you say that essential nature is non-difference from me, non-distinct from me, where do I find it? Chidakasham, Chidakasha Vasam. Vasam is he lives, he abides. He abides where? In Chidakasha. Chidakasha. Akasha, everybody knows it's a sky. Chidakasha. Chidakasha, the Akasha, the Chit which is in the form of Akasha. What do you mean by Chit? By Chit, I mean consciousness, awareness. That is the meaning of Chit. And this Chit Akasha is not something in the Akasha up there, sky. No, no. This Chit is in the form of Akasha. Space. Like space includes everything. Your Chit, your consciousness includes everything. There is nothing outside of the scope of consciousness. In this Chit Akasha, also called as Hridaya Akasha, symbolically says in the space of the heart. Space of the heart. Heart means the essence of something. In Chidakasha, Chidakasha Vasam, Bhajeham. I not only namami, but also Aham Bhaje. Aham Bhaje, I worship. I worship that Ishvara. I honor that Ishvara. I serve that Ishvara. So that is the my connection with Parameshwara. Number 2, Nirakaramomkaramulam turiyam Girajnanagotitamisham girisham Karalam mahakalakalam kripalam Gunagara samsaraparam natoham Aham nataha Aham namami. Same thing. I am. It's all different. Same words, different in a different way they are said. Same idea. I remain, I remain prostrating. Not just one namaskar and go away. I prostrate constantly. I mean, that is the attitude. And not literally. Right? This in terms of attitude. I am constantly so in gratitude. How do we show how do we honor the Lord? One is in terms of the attitude of gratitude and recognition and living by his laws. So he says Nirakaram. And who's that? Whom do I? Again, some other words. He is Nirakaram. He is free from Akara. Akara is a form. So Bhagavan himself, Svarupa, in terms of Svarupam, he is free from forms. Okay. He's free from the objective forms outside, physical forms, external. perceptions that I perceive, and also internal perceptions. My internal perceptions are my mind, my thinking, my emotions, etc. Bhagavan is not any of that. Bhagavan is something that sustains them, but also transcends them. So that is what is Nirakaram. Then the Bhagavan is not a feeling. God is love, they say. So that means, does it just love? I understand love as some kind of feeling, what I think. So then how do I feel love? How do I feel that? I'm trying to figure out inside what is the peace. All these words are there. You know? And then Bhagavan. So in some, these are all internal, my concepts. And experiences also. Emotions are real. They're not imaginary concepts. They are real experiences. But none of them is Bhagavan. So not some kind of a unusual. Bhagavan is some kind of unusual experience inside. You know. Akara nahi hai, is no forms. He's Omkara Moolam. Omkara Moolam. Moolam is the basis. Is Omkara Swarupam. Is as he is the very basis is what? He is the basis of Omkara in the sense when you look at the word Om, Om is another word. In the beginning, it's a sound. It has a meaning, therefore it becomes a word. You know, and that word itself has a meaning, and that meaning reveals. It means the formless, and it also means the manifest form. Both. It's a very unique word. So we have seen this before. Om indicates that which is without form, and it also indicates all that is manifest. Om iti Brahma. Om is indeed Brahma. Om can be equated to Brahma. Om iti Brahma. What is Brahman? Brahman is Om iti idagam sarvam. This all of this that is there manifest that you experience is also Om. You said Om is Brahman, which earlier Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, who transcends everything. But that same Om is also Idam Sarvam. So both the transcendent and the immanent, both the formless and the one without form. There are two things in me aspects, twofold aspects, okay, let us say. One which is essential, formless, Atma, and then all these other things that are there that are recognized and perceived by me. Turiyam, he is the Turiyam. This thing, same thing talked about. These are all the language of communications. We have to understand it, what is said behind it, behind the words. Turiyam is the fourth. That is the fourth. So there are threefold. There are so the word three. There are three things. This is that fourth thing which is distinct from the three. It is not just the fourth, one, two, three, four. You know, there are four ducks. There's a duck walking, mother duck, and there are four ducklings. One, two, three, four. It's not like that. Here, the fourth is the one that is distinct from the other three. Trigunatitam, that which is transcending the three. What is this three? The three, many things can be indicated by the Trigunas. Three gunas are there, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamo gunas. Trigunatitam. There are three avasthas are there, three states like waking, dream, deep sleep. That which transcends the third. When we use the word transcends, here, this is the fourth is indicated. It is like that which rounds off, you know, in a like a quarter. Four quarters are there. One, two, three. And the fourth quarter really rounds it off and makes it the whole. It makes it the whole. The whole includes all. Which quarter are we talking about? It could be any of those three in counting, you know. But here the idea is that the Turiyam is that something which sustains all of them, At the same time, it is always there as the fourth element. Because it is distinct from the other three, it is called as the fourth. That's all. But one is manifest, three are manifest, the one is not manifest. The fourth one is not manifest but sustains it. Therefore, we use the word transcends. Turiyam gira jnana gotitam isham. Girisham. He says he is that which is not available for gira is word, speech, vak, and jnanam. So this Atma or the Lord is not available to be defined by words. The words, the speech, the thoughts, thoughts are also forms which are not expressed. Speech is when it is expressed through the tongue. So here what happens? So all of this is not available. The subject is not available for any words that can only reveal an object. Okay. Words reveal object of perceptions, externally or internally in my mind. The subject does not make itself available to be defined, to be understood as an object. So therefore, it is not revealed by words. So therefore, it says it is beyond words, in beyond words. Don't forget, Shastram uses words all the time. Okay. But at the same time, the way it uses the words is very unique. It communicates by using words. The message in the communication, there is message. That message is the knowledge, but the words themselves, like table, chair, etc., that reveal an object, it is like that. You can't use a word and then say, simply use a word and say, Bhagavan is this, Bhagavan is that. Simply using a words won't reveal that object because he's not the object. He's the subject, in fact. So that is there. And then he is also Girisham. Gira. Giri also means Parvata, mountain. Giri is another word. Another meaning for the word Giri is mountain. So he's Girishaha. Girisha is the one who's Lord of the Giri. Which Giri we are talking of? Kailasha. Mount Kailasha. So Bhagwan resides, Parameshwara resides in Mount Kailasa. You know, this is something. So the people go there looking, look at the caves are there. Where is Bhagwan? How can you say that, Really, is Lord Parameshwara there in Mount Kailas is there? We know there is a Mount Kailas. And then where is Bhagavan there? If you the dynamite it and blow it open, Bhagavan is inside. Hmm. But Kailasha is Bhagavan, is the Lord. Kailasha is the Lord. Girivalam in Tiruvannamalai, so like Dakshina Kailas, like he is there. The Giri is a hill. They look upon that hill. It is Bhagavan, Lord Shiva. He abides in it. Why this Kailasha, Lingam? Take a Shiva Lingam. When a bhakta looks at Shiva Lingam, what does he see? He sees, he sees not just the lingam, he sees Lord Shiva there. We don't do Abhishekam to lingam. We do Abhishekam to Lord Shiva. So thus, for one who has that bhavana, that understanding, that is a lingam, that is a symbol, to connect him to what it represents, to the Lord, to Parameshwara, to Lord Shiva. When I see a lingam, I see Lord Shiva. When I prostrate to Shiva Lingam, I prostrate to Lord Bhagavan, to Parameshwara. When I see Mount Kailasa, what do I think? What abides in that mountain is Lord Shiva. He's living in that. Like here he said, how the Lord he lives in the Chidakasha. In the here he lives in the manifest also. If you look at Mount Kailasa picture from the top, they've taken, you can see it, Google it. It looks exactly like a Shivalingam, exactly like a Shivalingam, you know, huge, the mountain peak. From the top, if you look, it is a Shivalingam alone. There is Lord Shiva, there's Parvati, there's this portion, you know. So when you see that, what else do you see? What else does the Lord see? I mean, a Bhakta see. So he does live for a Bhakta. He lives there and because he sees him there. So he is, okay. Girisham, Karalam, Mahakala Kalam. Karalam is formidable. Rudra, in Rudra Rupam, he is something to be, is fierce. Okay, all power, full of power. Karalam is Karali. Karala word means fierce. Agni also has one of the names of Agni is called as Karali. Mahakala Kalam. Mahakalam. Kalam we know is time, past, present, future. Mahakalam is the Antima, the Kalam. Death is called Mahakalam. He is Mahakala Kalam. He is the Kalam of death. In the sense, he brings an end to this mortality, to the life of mortality, to the lives of mortality that the Jiva is subject to. Kripalam, the one who's Kripalu, who's compassionate. Gunagaram, he's the Agaram is a abode. He's the abode of all the gunas. Means all that is manifest. Samsara param. But gunas for us cause problems. The problems of samsara. Because I do not see, I do not recognize. When I do not recognize the essential, then for me the manifest becomes essential. When I do not recognize the the oneness, then the separations become, each one becomes a separation. There are many ones, you know, there are many ones. And I don't recognize that oneness. That's why people who talk about one, they fight with each other because they which one they don't know. The one who doesn't recognize, once you recognize the non-dual, then the duality gets absorbed in the oneness of the non-duality. 3. तुषाराद्रिसङ्काशगौरं गभीरं मनोभूतकोटिप्रभाश्रीशरीरम् सुरन्मौलिकल्लोलिनी चारुगङ्गा लसद्भालबालेन्दुकण्ठे भुजङ्गा तुषार आद्रि संकाश gauram gabhiram. Mount Everest was mentioned here. So this is the one who is bright like the snow, the snow-peaked mountain, the snow on the peak of the mountain like that. Or the snowy mountain peak, the one is Bhagavan, is resplendent like that. At the same time, Gabhiram, profound. The nature of Ishvara is not a joke, to be laughed at, to be laughed away, but it is something very profound about oneself, is something to be understood, something to be recognized, something to be cherished, something to be honored, etc. It's all Gambhiram. Then Manobhutam, Bhutam, Bhuta is to be, Manobhutam, the one who abides and manifests in the depths of one's mind, the consciousness, in the consciousness, which is Atma, and in the form of, who's in the form, Koti Prabha. Koti is, Prabha is light. Whenever light example is given, it always talks of consciousness, because consciousness lights up. It lights up the objects, it lights up the experiences, it lights up the world. Life is light. Light is life. When I wake up, I'm alive to the world. When you see I'm alive to something. A person can be living, but is totally oblivious of the world, even with open eyes. Then we say he is dead to the world. He's alive, but dead to the world. So life is light. We are alive to the world, awake to the world. Spuran Mauli Kallolini Charu Ganga. Ganga, Mauli is on the head, on the crown, the one who, on whose crown is what? Balendu. Balendu is the crescent. Kallola is the Ganga, Gangaji. So the one on from whose crown arises the Ganga in the form of waves. Okay. And then for Bhala, on the one whose forehead is he says Balendu. Balendu is Indu. Indu is the moon. Balendu is the crescent moon. They say the word is used. So second day, the Dvitiya moon is called Balendu. You know. Kante Bhujanga. And these are all descriptions of Parameshwara in this particular form of Rudra. And he says Kante on around his neck, there is the snake. So Vasuki, Naga Devata is around his neck, not choking him, but adorning him. Adorning. He's Kala Kala. He's the one who has conquered time itself, Kala. And Bhujanga, snakes, serpents represents time. It represents Shakti. So the one who has time becomes an adornment to him because he conquers it. It's conquered. Chalat kundalam bhusunetram vishalam prasannananam neelakantham dayalam mrigadhishacharmambaram mundamalam priyam shankaram sarvanatham bhajami. Aham bhajami. I worship. Bhaja also, Bhaj sevayam. I serve the Lord. Who do I? Sarvanatham. The one who is the Natha. The one who is the master of all, all that there is, all the people, all the beings. And who is what? Priyam Shankaram. Shankaroti. He always gives Sham, auspiciousness. From Bhagavan, only auspiciousness can come. Nothing else can come. Even though other things seem to come sometimes. We always, as if Bhagavan is causing us some sorrow, some difficulties, some calamities, some earthquakes, all kinds of things. But really speaking, all our experience, every experience is a step, can be a step forward, is meant to be a step forward in growth, in one's spiritual growth. Even sometimes when it look backwards, it may feel that way, but it is for one's. That's why we grow, potentially grow, and we grow with every sorrow, with every dukkha. Once I overcome something, then overcoming means become mastering that thing, getting over it. And that is growth. So thus, it's a process. So it's always Shankaram. It always gives auspiciousness. And then some other descriptive things in terms of his form. Chalat Kundalam. He wears kundalas. Kundala is so an earring is called kundalam. It's kundalam which is always shaking, moving, swaying. Different kinds of kundalams are described in our Shastram. Shilpa Shastram, they talk about, you see different deities in the temple, they wear different types of kundalam, earrings. Earrings. So, Patra Kundalam, it describes, Makara Kundalam. Makara is the looks like an alligator-like creature. the kundala. Lord Vishnu wears makara kundalam. Then the sarpa kundalam is there. Sometimes in some of the murtis you see patra kundalam, ratna kundalam. Lot of goddesses wear ratna kundalam, shankha kundalam. There are 5 different types of kundalas you will see in. Should look at when you go there and look at the day. That's what happens, when we grow up, when we are young, we go to the temple. And when you're young, you listen, we go with our parents. And then the mind doesn't really understand many of the things, but the eyes observe a lot. And as children, we would look. Then where do you look? Where do old adults, in fact, look at each other. Children don't really look at each other that much. They look at the murtis, and then they look at every aspect. What is there? What do the earrings look like? What does this look like? That look like? All have symbolic meanings. Bhusu netram vishalam, the one who has so bright, beautiful eyes, a broad forehead. Prasannanam, whose ananam is prasannam. Prasannam is very pleasing. Face which is not pleasing, not frightening. Even though it's Rudram, even Rudram's face. In fact, for a child, a mother's face is always pleasing. So mother may have a face which to others may not look so pleasing. But then for its own child, it's always pleasing. Even even our Bhagavan, Narasimha, his face was so frightening. Everybody got frightened there who saw him, including Devatas. And they were afraid to approach him, except except Prahlada. When he looked at him, he didn't seem frightened at all. And so they all deputized him to go, to go and represent them, to talk to Lord Narasimha. Because so that is what it is. So for a bhakta, his sananam, however, whatever it is always prasannam, calming. Neelakantham, we all know that, whose throat is so bluish in color because he tried to prevent the poison from from hurting the whole world, in fact, that spewed out of Vasuki's mouth. So Dayalam Prasannananam Neelakantam Dayalam. Dayalu we saw before, the one who's compassionate. Mrigadisha Charmambaram. Mrigadisham is the king of the animals. Who is he? For us it is the tiger. The tiger is the king of the jungle. In Africa it is the lion. But for us it is the big, see the formidable, scary they are, the big Bengal tigers. And so there is a story there connected to that, how Lord Shiva, so he ends up so controlling or overcoming the people tried to create fear. He was wandering around like a avaduta, a mendicant. And then so something is there. I won't get into that time limits. But then it he's the one who wears the skin of a tiger as his attire, or so depicted sometimes as sitting on a tiger skin in meditation, etc. It symbolizes his role as a renunciate, the one who has mastered all the tendencies, animal tendency. It's impulsive, all the impulsive tendencies that are there in a living being. So, and the king of them. So thus the one who has mastered all of that. So he wears that. And then Munda Malam, he wears the mala of Munda. Munda is the skulls. Each skull symbolizes a kalpa. So at the end of every kalpa, there is one more skull. It's Kalam. He's a Kala Kalam. He conquers time. So time is represented by this pralaya in every kalpa. And so those kalpas are indicated by the so munda mala that he wears. Also carries a skull as a bhiksha patram. There's another story about that. Wonderful. So the kamandalu, where that came from and what that represents. 5. Prachandam prakrishtam pragalbham paresham akhandam ajam bhanukoti prakasham trishula trishula nirmulanam shulapanim bhajeham bhavani patim bhavagamyam. Prachandam, again the one who is fierce, fierce. It's one of the names of the Bhairava Rupam form associated with the Samhara. Samhara is this. So creation, preservation, and destruction. So when everything is resolved back into the unmanifest, that is called as Samhara. So that is represented, it's experience. So much is there, then everything again disappears, like in a black hole. So that is what one of his Bhairava forms is called as Prachanda or even Chanda. Then Prachanda, there's even Shakti. One of the rupams of Shakti is called as Chandika. So she is one of the Navadurgas. Prakrishtam, the one who is the exalted, the most exalted. Pragalbham, who the one who's the source, the repository of all courage. Now, he's all talking about is Samhara Rupam. Paresham, the one at the same time, he transcends all that there is. Akhandam, the one who is limitless. Khandam, I talked about division, multiplicity. The one who transcends all of that is called as Akhandam. Ajam. Ajam means the one who doesn't have Janma. The one who doesn't have Janma, in other words, time, having transcended time, birth, death, etc., is all within time. So the one to whom birth, death concepts don't apply because he supports time itself. He keeps time going. And he's like a million, koti, a crore is 10 million. Or can also be infinite. He's like the infinite rays of sunlight, his brightness. Shulapanim, the one who holds Trishulam. Trishulam is a weapon held by Lord Shiva. It's a three-pronged weapon that indicates again. So it's something that destroys, that removes what? Anything threefold. We saw before. So whether it is Trikalam, whether it is three gunams, so threefold karmas, kaikam, vachikam, manasam, like there are a lot of three things are there that are indicated by the scriptures. So the one who destroys all of that. Bhavani Patim, he is the consort of Bhavani, of Parvati. Bhavani name means the one who gives life, the one who gives existence. Maya Shakti. She is Parashakti, she is Prakriti. So, and Bhavagamyam, the one who can be reached, reached through Bhavam, through devotion, Bhakti Bhavam. Kalatita Kalyana Kalpantakari Sada Sajjanananda Data Purari Chidananda Sandoha Mohapahari Prasida Prasida Prabho Manmathari. Kalatitam, the one who, Kala is a word, you know, it can refer to 64 kalas. There are different forms of arts. There's one meaning. Kala also means a part. A part is called as a kala. Shodasha kala is a word used. The moon, the moon has 16 parts, they say. Shodasha kala refers to parts. Because the moon undergoes waxing and waning every 15 days. Okay. So in every 15 days, so one part, it's like he loses one part, 1/15 of a part. So he loses. Then on the 15th, then Amavasya day, everything is gone. So that on the last day, then like that. So this thing, uh, Chaturdashi, and then you have Amavasya, Chaturdashi, you have Paurnami. Purnima. Then the 15 are like that. Okay, every 15-day cycle. Then what is the 16th thing? So the 16th kala is a Gupta kala, It is something which is said to be hidden. So here it's called Amrita Kala. And that refers to the truth, of the moon. It's a beautiful metaphor here. Even though the moon has parts and waxes and wanes and seems to lose itself and then disappears, really speaking, moon is always there. The behind, there is always the moon, not gone anywhere. It is seen or unseen. It is seen and unseen. And that is that is the secret of the moon. So that is the 16th aspect. It's like the Turium, something like the Turium. There is one, two, three, and then the fourth is the one that is there, always sustaining. So like that, this Shodashi is a very mysterious thing in Shakti cult. So it represents the ultimate. So the ultimate, that is Brahman, in fact. So anyway, so he's the one who transcends all of this. He says, Kalyanakari, the one who gives Shubham, Kalyanam, Kalpantakari. We saw all these meanings. The one who brings an end to. So kalpas. Kalpa here, time earlier it was said. Here he uses a specific term called as a kalpa. So 1000 Chaturyugas is considered to be one kalpa in our calendar of the cosmic time. So Annadata, the one who blesses. Oh, Anandadata. He is the one who gives Ananda, blesses those who follow Dharma, who are his devotees. Who are his devotees? Not just Shaivites. Anyone who follows Dharma is a devotee of Ishvara. That's all, really. Chidananda, the one who is the source of Ananda, he says, Sandoha Chidananda. The entire Anandam, the source is one source. Mohapahari, the one who removes ignorance in the form of moha, confusion, delusion. And he is Man Prasida, please bless me. Please give me your grace. Manmathari. Manmathari is the one who became inimical to Manmatha. Manmatha is Kamadeva. We all know that. So there is a story, the Kamadeva. So the Devas tried to use Kamadeva to cause disturbance in Lord Shiva. So another whole story there. And so the Lord Shiva, Manmatha is the god of love. One will ask, why poor god of love? How did he get into this trouble of Bhagavan, Lord Shiva destroying him? Really, because here the love that we talk about, God is supposed to be love. So really speaking, it should not be an issue. But here, because he was love indicates that, so Manmatha causing disturbance in one's mind. It does causes disturbance. So here, if the love is towards growth is one thing, but if the love is away from growth and causes disturbance towards mind, here he was trying to cause disturbance to his meditative mind. That's the idea. So then that time he got into trouble. Then of course he gets over that afterwards. Lord Shiva so forgives him for that. So anyway, so Manmathari he is. In fact they do prayers to Manmatha and his consort Rati in order to be able to grow for spiritual growth, that way. So that may one's mind not be disturbed. That's the idea. In the fulfillment of the Kama Purushartha. So I'll just finish this, don't worry. Nayavad Umanatha Padaravindam Bhajanti Haloke Parevanaraణam Natavat Sukham Shanti Santapanasham Prasida Prabho Sarva Bhuta Adivasam. Hey Prabho, O Lord, Prabhu Prakarshena Bhati, the one who manifests in forms that are illuminating, that are enlightening. Prasida, Prasida, please shower your grace upon me, Prasida. Sarva Bhutadivasam, the one who's the abode, the one who abides also in all beings, the one, he says, na yavad, Bhagavan, Umanatham, the one who's the consort of Uma, of Parvati Devi. He says, until the as long as one doesn't worship you or recognize you in this world or in any other world, he says, until that time, that person is not going to na tavat sukham shantim santapanasham. Until then, one will not find sukham or peace or tranquility, shanti, santapanasham, freedom from tapa, from sorrow, from afflictions. In other words, so one only when one seeks refuge in the recognition of that Ishvara, the source of all beings, until that happens, one is not free from sorrow, from tranquility. And that is why it is there within us. That is why there is this push towards that knowing what the truth is, because that is where it is meant to be. That is where one is meant to go. And all that is there in our life that we experience, it really pushes us towards the momentum that leads us towards Parameshwara. Every human being. There's nothing special about a spiritual Purushartha. It is all, everyone has these fourfold Purusharthas. Artha Kama, then Dharma and Moksha. So, न जानामि योगम जपम नैव पूजाम न तो हम सदा सर्वदा शंभु तुभ्यम जरा जरा जन्म दुःखौ गता तप्यमानम प्रभो पाहि आपन नमामीश शंभो न जानामि yogam. I don't know, I'm not informed enough of all these practices, yogam, japam, puja, etc. But he says, however, I surrender to you always. I am surrendering to you. I don't know we do, but we always feel inadequate because we don't know enough. We don't even know enough how to do what to do. But he says, if the attitude is there, if the bhakti is there, if the surrender is there, that I believe it is there in me. And so please protect me, he says. Prabho pahi apatti apannam namami, again namami. Shambho, Shambhu, Shankaraha, same meaning, the one who does which is good. Make me free from all this. Jara, Janma, illness, birth and death, sorrow, Dukkham, immense Dukkham, all this. Rudrashtakamidam proktam viprena haratoshaye ye patanti nara bhaktya tesham shambhu prasidati. Generally, all stutis for Lord Shiva end more or less with this verse. Rudrashtakamidam proktam viprena haratoshaye. For pleasing Lord Hara. Hara is Lord Shiva. Viprena proktam. By the, which was said by the wise person, perhaps referring to sage Lomesha. Rudrashtakam, this Rudrashtakam. Ye patanti, the one who studies this or recites this, studies this, bhaktya, with devotion. He says, Tesham Shambhu Prasidati. The Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, he will be gracious. He will bless him. Bless such a person. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you so much, Dhira ji.